Alrighty, Zane. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Hope you're having a good weekend. I wanted to get this video out here just to kind of show you the difference between your current swing and also put a big leaguer on the bottom. His name is Mike Trout. He's an outfielder in the same division as the Texas Rangers. Definitely going to be a Hall of Famer one day, but wanted to show you your swing compared to his. Just kind of talk about the two differences between y'all's swings, talk about what we're going to keep working on, and obviously just kind of giving you a good reference point that you can always look back to. So without further ado, we're going to get to it. All right, so very first thing that I want you to take a look at, all right? And it really shows in Mike Trout's swing, okay? Now, there's a difference between where Trout is set up in the plate and where we are set up in the plate, right? Trout, as you might see, is set up towards the back of the box. I'm going to draw a line right where the back of the box is, okay? The reason that he's set up in the back of the box in this particular video is because he is trying to get his timing down. So what he's doing is he's backing up in the box to try to get his timing down to where he's on time with the baseball, right? The reason I'm pointing this out is I want you to take a look at where you are right now, okay? So the reason I say this is because there's a difference of where Trout is making connection, because if we see, Trout is making connection with this pitch right down the middle, okay, as if he were squared up on the plate, okay? Where we currently are is out in front of the ball, which, as we can see from where our contact point is, we're still pointing our barrel towards the right side, right? And by the time that we make connection, we're taking everything towards the right side there, okay? So that is why your barrel is going a lot towards that way, okay? So that's the very first thing that I want to work on next time is obviously getting ourselves in the correct spot, especially when we're doing tee work. Now, in the game, it's a little bit different because it's all about the timing of the pitcher, but I want you to understand that and have that kind of in the back reference whenever we're talking about taking a pitch off a tee, okay? So now that we got that out of the way, I want to take a look as well with our swing, okay? We're going to start on our bottom half, okay? I want you to take a look where Trout steps, where you step. Trout is stepping directly towards the pitcher, okay? If you notice, he picks up his leg, immediately is stepping towards the pitcher, okay? His very first movement is going back towards the pitcher because he wants to take all of his energy back towards that spot, okay? If you notice, our leg starts to go straight, but then we step out, okay? What we like to call this is called stepping in the bucket, okay? And why it's called stepping in the bucket is if I were to draw a circle right here, okay? And that's our bucket. We're stepping into that bucket right now, okay? The reason that that's important is because when we step in the bucket, that affects our hips, or rather, let me redraw that, our hips and our shoulders, because that automatically is going to throw our hips and shoulders open, which, as if you notice in your swing, immediately once you put your foot down, your shoulders are starting to open, right? Versus if you take a look at Trout, his shoulders are closed, right? And his hips are closed. Now, you might be saying, well, Coach Max, my shoulders and Mike Trout's shoulders in the same way. But take a look at the difference in the hip, right? You'll notice Trout is in the position to turn after he makes foot strike. We are turning before we make foot strike, okay? And the reason that that's important, Zane, is because of a topic called hip-shoulder separation. It's the same thing that you'll see in pitching. But essentially what it is it's almost like it's a rubber band, okay? If you think about it, when you pull back the rubber band, right, what happens is it gets tensed up, and after you release, there's a lot of power that comes from it, right? That is hip-shoulder separation in a nutshell, right? If there is a rubber band between our hip and our shoulder, we want to have tension in that rubber band so that when we go through our swing right here, we get power, right? But if we notice, if we're moving both our hip and our shoulder at the same time, there's not much power we can build off of, okay? So that's the biggest thing for your bottom half, okay? We talked about also this back knee, right? Take a look at Trout. If I were to draw a line on his back knee, he does not go backwards. He has to go forward like so. And we talked about that in our lesson, and we were able to get that feeling down of where we were able to build power using that 45-degree angle in our hip, right? Instead of having to build power off of our straight leg, we were able to get ourselves in a really good, powerful position, okay? One thing you do really, really good, Zane, and take a look at your bottom half here, you do a good job of keeping this foot active, right? That's a really, really good thing that a lot of young hitters struggle with, is keeping their back foot active. But the thing that we talked about is our weight on our front foot, which you do actually a really good job in this video in particular of keeping your weight on your front foot. I know that we kind of dealt with that in the lesson a little bit of where we were kind of putting it on our heel, which caused us to open up a little bit more. But in this particular video, you do a really, really good job of keeping your front foot down and using your back foot for action, okay? So then I want to talk about your upper half, okay? So your upper half, very first movement is to where it's a very slight where you're dropping your hands down, right? If we look at Trout's first reaction, okay? So we see here, first reaction, we're loading, and then we take a drop down like so, okay? Take a look at Trout real quick. Trout keeps his hands loaded, and while, yes, we always have to drop towards the baseball, right? If you take a look, Trout is loaded into his hands versus immediately dropping straight down like so, right? Which happens because then we try to get underneath the ball. And in this particular instance, as we can see, we hit the top of the ball, right? Because we have our bat path. If I were to clear everything out, we drop down, and then we try to come up at the very last second. And either what we do is that, or we come up and hit a straight fly ball in the air, okay? So how does Trout get to that, right? Take a look at his back elbow. You're going to notice this connection right here he's about to get to, right? And you actually do a pretty good job of starting that connection. However, it's a little bit of a late start. Instead, we should be connecting right here, but we make the connection right here. So if I were to draw a line exactly where we make connection, that's where you make connection. And Trout makes connection all the way back. That's not a good line, but all the way back here, right? Versus we're halfway through, right? And then from there, we want to extend out, which I will say, Zane, you do a really, really good job of extending out to the baseball. That's a really, really good thing you do. I just think we could build a little bit more power if we get you to connect earlier and then extend out. But really, those are the couple things that I see in your mechanics that we'll work on and we'll continue to work on. But overall, really, really good first lesson, Zane. I'm looking forward to working with you. Keep working hard, and we'll see you next time.